My dad paid my fiancé 50 grand to walk away from me and marry my cousin instead. I figured it out in about 3 seconds, and in that tiny stretch of time, everything I thought I knew about my life completely collapsed. I was alone in my apartment late that night, still grinding through a quarterly report for the accounting firm where I worked. My fiancé of 4 years, Emma, had texted earlier saying she was staying at her place because she had an early meeting the next morning. We were 6 months out from getting married. The invitations had already been ordered. Her wedding dress was hanging in the closet, sealed up in plastic like it was waiting for a future that didn't exist anymore. I was wiped out. My eyes felt like sandpaper after staring at spreadsheets for 12 straight hours. I grabbed my phone to set an alarm, and that's when I noticed Emma's laptop sitting on the coffee table. She'd left it there the day before. The screen was still on, just dimmed from inactivity. I wasn't snooping. I've never been the type to dig through a partner's stuff, but an email notification was sitting right at the top of the screen, and the sender's name stopped me cold. It was my father. My hand moved before my brain could catch up. The subject line read, "Regarding our arrangement." I clicked. The words burned into my head like they were etched there permanently. "Emma, I've transferred the remaining $25,000 to your account, just like we discussed. That brings the total to $50,000 as agreed. I know this isn't easy, but Lauren can offer you a life that my son simply can't. Her family's connections in the marketing world will fast-track your career in ways he never could. Lauren's trust fund alone is worth more than he'll earn in his lifetime. You're making the smart decision. When you end the engagement, keep it clean. Don't mention our conversations. He doesn't need to know any of this. He'll move on eventually. He always does what's practical." Emma's reply had been sent just 3 hours earlier. "I understand, Mr. Richardson. I do care about him, but you're right about the opportunities with Lauren. I'll end things this weekend. Thank you for helping me see things clearly. The money will help me start over." I read the exchange again, and again, then again after that, until the words started blurring together and I lost track of how many times I'd gone over it. My father. My own father. Paid the woman I was supposed to marry to dump me and marry my cousin. Lauren. Perfect, charming Lauren. Always smiling, always the center of attention. Always posting photos from some rooftop bar or tropical vacation. She had a trust fund, a massive social media following, and a family that practically owned half the marketing world. We'd grown up side by side. Birthday parties, holidays, family reunions, we did all of it together. She was supposed to stand next to me at the altar as my groomswoman. She'd been at every major moment of my life. The room started spinning. I grabbed the edge of the couch just to stay upright and tried to breathe through the pressure crushing my chest. 4 years. That's how long Emma and I had built a life together. 4 years of planning, compromising, and talking about our future. 4 years of bringing her to family dinners. 4 years of Sundays at my parents' house, where my dad would slap her on the back, call her family, and talk about how proud he was of us. Turns out the whole thing had a price tag. I sat there in the dark, my laptop forgotten, the report abandoned, the numbers on the screen melting into nonsense. I'd spent my entire life being the responsible one, the practical one, the guy who planned ahead and kept things steady. My father had always praised me for that. Apparently that was worth less than $50,000. What hurt the most wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was hearing my dad's voice in my head, clear as day, repeating the line he'd written in that email. He always does what's practical. He knew I wouldn't fight back. He knew I'd take it quietly with dignity, the way I always had. The same way I'd accepted that Lauren was the fun one, the attractive one, the one everyone wanted around. And I was the serious one, the boring one, the guy working late on Friday nights instead of being out living it up. I stared at my engagement ring. Emma had proposed to me on a beach in Santa Monica, right at sunset. She got down on one knee, told me I was her best friend, her partner, the person she wanted to grow old with. I'd cried. My mom had cried when I told her. My dad had shaken Emma's hand and welcomed her into the family. Either it was all a lie, or it started out real, and my father turned it into one. I thought about confronting them. I could have taken screenshots and blown everything wide open. I could have shown up to Sunday dinner and thrown the truth in my dad's face. I could have called Lauren and asked her how much she knew, but I didn't do any of that. I stayed there until the sun came up and made a different decision, one my father never saw coming. The next morning I called in sick to work. Then I called my landlord to ask about breaking my lease early. After that I called a lawyer. By the time Emma texted asking if I wanted to get dinner that weekend, I already knew exactly what I was going to do. We met at our usual place, a quiet Italian restaurant where we'd celebrated anniversaries and milestones. She was twisting her napkin in her hands, clearly nervous. I could tell she'd been practicing her breakup speech all day. "Hey," she started gently, using that soft, careful tone that suddenly made my skin crawl. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about us." "It's okay," I said, cutting her off. My voice was steady, calm. "I know." Her face drained of color. You know," she asked. "I know you're going to end the engagement," I said. "I know you've been having doubts. And honestly, I've been feeling the same way." The lie came out smooth and effortless. "I think we've grown apart," I continued. "We want different things now. It's nobody's fault." I watched relief wash over her face, and I felt absolutely nothing. "You're being really understanding about this," she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it back. "I just want us both to be happy," I told her. "You should be with someone who matches your ambitions. Someone who can give you the life you're looking for." Something flickered in her eyes. Guilt maybe. Or maybe she recognized the words without realizing where they came from. "You deserve someone who truly appreciates you," she said, still trying to play the good guy. "Yes," I replied. "I do." I slipped the engagement ring off my finger and set it down between us. 4 years reduced to a small circle of metal and stone. "Keep it," I said. "Sell it. Do whatever you want." Then I walked out, leaving her there, probably relieved by how easy I'd made it, by how clean the break was. Exactly what my father had paid for. I didn't cry until I got home. After that I cried for 3 straight hours. Not quiet tears. Full body, can't catch your breath crying that leaves you emptied out and sore. I cried for the 4 years I'd poured into a relationship that ended in a transaction. I cried for the father I thought I knew. I cried for the cousin I'd trusted without hesitation. And I cried for the future I'd been dreading. Every family dinner, every holiday, every wedding where I'd be expected to smile and watch Emma and Lauren together like I didn't know exactly how it all happened. When the tears finally ran dry, I made myself a promise. No one would ever get to make me feel small again. I would never let my worth be measured by someone else's dollar amount. And someday I would prove to my father just how wrong he was about what I was capable of. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane headed to Singapore. I'd accepted a senior accountant role at a fintech startup that was quickly gaining traction in the Asian market. The CEO had been trying to recruit me for 6 months, but I kept turning her down. I told myself it was because of the wedding, because of Emma, because I was being responsible. Forget practical. I told my mom I was taking an international career opportunity. I told my brother I needed a clean break and a fresh start. I didn't tell anyone about the email. I didn't explain what my father had done. I just packed up my life and left. My dad called the day before my flight. "This feels sudden," he said. "Don't you think you're being impulsive?" "No," I replied evenly. "I think I'm being practical. It's a great opportunity. You always told me to prioritize my career." There was a pause. "What about Emma? What about the wedding?" "We broke up," I said. "It was mutual. We want different things." Silence filled the line. I wondered briefly if guilt ever touched him. I wasn't sure he was capable of it. "Well," he said finally, "if this is what you want, Lauren will miss you at family events." My grip tightened around the phone. "I'm sure she'll manage." I hung up before he could say anything else. Singapore hit me like a wall. Hot, loud, packed with people, and completely unfamiliar. It was everything home wasn't, and that was exactly what I needed. I threw myself into work harder than I ever had before. The startup was small but fearless, focused on building financial tools for underserved markets. The CEO, Rachel Chun, was sharp, demanding, and allergic to excuses. She'd built the company from the ground up and expected excellence from everyone around her. I thrived. It turns out that when you're not draining your energy trying to keep someone else comfortable, when you're not shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's version of your future, You can do incredible things. 6 months in, Rachel promoted me to controller. A year later, I became CFO. By year 2, we were preparing for an IPO. I worked 100-hour weeks. I learned Mandarin. I built relationships with investors across 3 continents. I became the kind of person who boarded planes without hesitation, made decisions involving millions of dollars, and held my own in boardrooms full of men twice my age. Somewhere along the way, I also learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. My apartment in Singapore was small but sleek, perched high above the city with sweeping skyline views. I filled it with things I actually liked, not things that matched someone else's taste. I started yoga. I joined a book club. I made friends, other expats who didn't know my past, didn't know about the wedding that never happened or the father who'd paid my fiancé to leave. Every now and then I thought about calling my brother and telling him everything. We'd always been close. But every time I reached for my phone, I remembered he was still there, still sitting at Sunday dinners with my dad, with Lauren, and probably Emma by then. So I kept my distance. I sent birthday cards. I replied to texts politely but briefly. I built a careful wall between the life I'd left behind and the one I was building now. I didn't look back until an email arrived 3 years later. Sarah, I'm getting married. I know we haven't talked much since you moved, but you're my sister. I can't imagine getting married without you there. The wedding's in Portland in 3 months. Please come. It would mean everything to me and to Emma. We miss you. I stared at the screen for a long time. 3 years of distance. 3 years of building a life where I didn't have to think about my father's betrayal. 3 years of not seeing Lauren and Emma together and pretending everything was fine. But this was Michael, my baby brother. The one who called me sobbing after his first breakup. The one I helped with college applications. The one who always believed in me even when I didn't. I couldn't miss his wedding. I called him. His face filled the screen, older, more settled, but still wearing the same smile. You'll come? He asked, hopeful. I will, I said. On one condition. Anything. I'm bringing someone. I hadn't planned to say it, but once the words were out, I knew they were true. His eyes widened. You're seeing someone? That's amazing. Of course. Bring him or her, whoever makes you happy. His name is Daniel, I said. That part was true. Daniel Park, CEO of a venture capital firm based in Hong Kong. We'd met 6 months earlier at a conference in Tokyo and bonded over terrible hotel coffee and a shared hatred of corporate buzzwords. We saw each other when our schedules lined up, which wasn't often, but when we did, everything felt easy. Natural. Nothing like what I'd had before. Daniel listened when I talked about my work. He challenged me in ways that made me better, not smaller. He had his own goals and never expected me to sacrifice mine for his. When I called him after talking to Michael, he answered on the second ring. How do you feel about meeting my family? I asked. The family you haven't spoken to in 3 years? That's the one. He laughed softly. Sounds terrifying. I'm in. I should warn you, my ex-fiancé married my cousin, and they'll probably be there. There was a beat of silence. Then, okay. Now I'm definitely in. This might be the most interesting wedding I attend all year. You're ridiculous, I said. You like that about me? I did. God help me, I really did. The flight back to Portland felt longer than any business trip I'd ever taken. Daniel slept beside me, his hand loosely wrapped around mine. We'd agreed to keep things low-key, not turn our relationship into a spectacle. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving anything. Except it absolutely was about proving something, and we both knew it. Michael picked us up from the airport. He wrapped me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe, then turned around and shook Daniel's hand with that same open, enthusiastic energy that instantly reminded me why I'd missed him so much. I'm so glad you're here, he kept saying. Emma's excited to meet you. Mom's been cooking nonstop for 2 days. And Dad, well, he's pretending he's not emotional, but he definitely is. My stomach clenched at the mention of my father. Oh, and Mia and James will be there too, Michael added, watching my face closely. I invited them before I really thought it through. I didn't know if it would be weird. It's your wedding, I said evenly. Everyone important to you deserves to be there. The rehearsal dinner was held at an upscale restaurant downtown. I'd put real thought into what I wore. A navy dress that felt polished without being stiff, elegant without looking like I was trying too hard. Daniel wore a suit that probably cost more than my first car, but somehow he made it look effortless. We walked in together, and I felt the shift as the room took notice. My mom spotted me first. She actually gasped, set her wine glass down too hard, and hurried over to pull me into a hug. "Sarah," she said, holding my face. "Oh, sweetheart, you look amazing. And you must be Daniel. Michael's told us so much about you." My dad rose more slowly from his seat. He looked older than I remembered. Thinner. Grayer. He shook Daniel's hand, giving him that assessing look fathers always do. "It's good to see you, Sarah," he said. "You too, Dad." Mia and James were there. Mia had cut her hair short and put on some weight. She was still beautiful, but there was tension around her eyes, something tight and restless. James looked different too, less hair, more muscle, the kind that comes from spending too much time at the gym and not enough time dealing with your life. They both froze when they saw me. "Sarah," Mia said, her voice overly bright. "Oh my God, it's been forever. Look at you." "Hi, Mia," I replied. "James." James nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Good to see you." Dinner went exactly the way I'd expected, strained and uncomfortable. I sat between Michael and Daniel, answering questions about Singapore, my job, how Daniel and I met. My mom kept reaching across the table to touch my hand, like she needed reassurance that I was really there. My dad stayed unusually quiet, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. Mia kept trying to pull me into conversation, asking about my apartment, my friends, whether I miss Portland. James barely spoke at all. He pushed food around his plate and refilled his wine glass more often than necessary. "So Daniel," my father finally said, breaking the tension, "what do you do?" "I run a venture capital firm," Daniel answered smoothly. "We focus on fintech and sustainable technology across the Asia-Pacific region." "Venture capital?" my dad repeated. "That's fairly lucrative, I imagine." "Dad," I said quietly, a warning in my tone. "I'm just making conversation," he replied. "It can be," Daniel said calmly. "Although Sarah actually earns more than I do. Her company went public last year. She's done exceptionally well." The table fell silent. "You went public?" my father asked, staring at me. "Your startup?" "Yes," I said. "Last June. We rang the bell at the Singapore exchange. It was a good day." "Why didn't you tell us?" my mom asked, clearly stunned. "Because you chose a trust fund over my potential. Because my own father didn't think I was worth backing. Because I needed to prove I could do this on my own." "It all happened pretty fast," I said instead. "Things were busy." Mia had gone pale. That's incredible, Sarah. Congratulations." James was staring at his plate like it might explain the universe to him if he looked long enough. My dad cleared his throat. "Well, that's a remarkable accomplishment." "Thank you." The conversation moved on, but I could feel my father watching me for the rest of the night. Later, while everyone mingled over drinks, he pulled me aside. "Sarah, can we talk?" "Sure, Dad." We stepped out onto the restaurant's patio. The night was clear, the city lights of Portland stretching out below us. "I owe you an apology," he said. I waited. "When you left for Singapore, I thought you were running away," he continued. "I thought you were being impulsive, emotional. I was worried." "Were you?" I asked. He hesitated. "I was wrong. About a lot of things. You've built an incredible career. You've become someone I didn't anticipate." "No," I said quietly. "You didn't. Mia and James," he began, then stopped. "Things didn't turn out the way I hoped." "How did you hope they'd turn out, Dad?" He really looked at me then, and I saw it. The moment he realized, I knew. The calculation in his eyes as he tried to figure out exactly how much. "You saw the emails," he said softly. "I did." "Did Mia know?" I asked. "Did she know you paid him?" "No," he said quickly. "She didn't. She thought James chose her on his own." "So you didn't just betray me," I said. "You manipulated her too." He winced. "I thought I was helping. Mia needed stability. James needed someone who could advance his career. And I thought you deserved someone who truly appreciated you. And James wasn't that person." So you decided to play God with all of our lives. I made a mistake. You put a price on your daughter, I said, my voice finally shaking. $50,000. That's what I was worth to you. Less than Mia's trust fund. Less than James's ambition. Just enough money to make me disappear. That's not what I meant. Do you know the worst part? I cut in. You were right. James wasn't worth my time. Mia's trust fund is impressive. And your investment probably would have paid off if he'd married her for the right reasons. You ran all the numbers correctly. Then why are you so angry? He asked. Because I'm your daughter, I said, the words bursting out of me. And you should have invested in me. You should have believed in me. You should have told James that I was the prize, not Mia. You should have warned him not to even think about walking away. Instead, you paid him to leave. You taught me that even my own father didn't think I was worth fighting for. He looked old then. Smaller. Worn down. I'm sorry, he said. Sarah, I truly am. I know you are, I replied. But here's the thing, Dad. I learned my value without you. I built my success without your money. And I found someone who chooses me every single day without needing 50,000 reasons to do it. I met his eyes. So your apology, sincere or not, doesn't actually change anything. Can you forgive me? I actually stopped and thought about it. I didn't dodge the question or soften the answer. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But not right now. I'm here for Michael. Not for you. Not for Mia. Not for James. I'm here because my brother is getting married and I love him. Don't confuse my being here with forgiveness. Then I turned and walked back inside before he could say anything else. Daniel was waiting near the bar. He didn't ask what my father and I had talked about. He just handed me a glass of wine and looked at me carefully. You okay? Yeah, I said and realized it was true. I really am. The wedding itself was beautiful. Michael and Emma looked genuinely happy, completely in love in a way that felt steady and real. Watching them, I felt something I hadn't expected. Actual joy. This was what love was supposed to look like. This was what choosing each other should feel like. At the reception, I noticed Mia and James from across the room. They sat side by side but barely spoke. Mia kept checking her phone every few minutes. James drank steadily, glass after glass. When the DJ played a slow song, they didn't even stand up. Later, my mom, who had never met a secret she couldn't share, filled me in. Their marriage was barely holding together. James had cheated 6 months earlier. Mia found out but stayed because her entire Instagram brand was built on the image of a perfect marriage. James stayed because he quit his job to manage her influencer career and had nowhere else to go. My father's $50,000 investment hadn't bought them happiness. It had bought them a cage. When the DJ announced the bouquet toss, Emma turned and locked eyes with me, grinning. I shook my head, but she wouldn't let it go. Women gathered on the dance floor, including Mia, who joined with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Emma turned her back, counted to 3, and threw the bouquet straight at me. I caught it without even thinking. The room exploded in cheers. Daniel laughed. Michael gave me a big thumbs up. My mom burst into tears, happy ones this time. Mia stared at me with an expression I couldn't quite name. Maybe sadness. Maybe regret. Maybe exhaustion from holding everything together. All I felt was pity. Well, guess that means you're next, someone shouted. Daniel stepped forward, took my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor. So, he said quietly, what do you think? About what? About making an honest man out of me. I blinked. Are you seriously asking me to marry you at my brother's wedding? God, no, he said quickly. That would be incredibly tacky. I'm asking if you'd be okay with me asking you next month in Bali. I already have the ring. I stared at him. You have a ring? I've had it for 2 months, he admitted. I was waiting for the right moment. But seeing you catch that bouquet, seeing you stand here after everything you've been through, completely unbothered by the people who hurt you, I don't want to wait anymore. That might be the least romantic proposal preview I've ever heard. The actual proposal will be better, he promised. I'm working on it. You're ridiculous. You say that a lot. And you keep proving it. He smiled. So is that a yes? I looked around the room. At my brother dancing with his new wife. At my mom laughing with Emma's parents. At my father watching me from across the room, his face caught somewhere between pride and regret. At Mia and James trapped in a life built on money and lies and all the wrong reasons. I thought about the last 3 years, the long nights, the early mornings, the work it took to learn my own worth. I thought about building something real, something that belonged to me. Yes, I said. It's a yes. We danced while my family watched. When the song ended, my father appeared beside us. May I? He asked, nodding toward me. I looked at Daniel. He squeezed my hand and stepped back. We danced in awkward silence for a moment before my father spoke. I know you said you're here for Michael, he said. But I hope you know how proud I am of you, of what you've accomplished. Don't, I said quietly. Please don't try to take credit for my success. You didn't invest in me. You didn't believe in me. I did this in spite of you, not because of you. I know, he said. Do you? I asked. Because my entire life you told me to be practical, to be sensible, to not aim too high. And the second I actually did something extraordinary, you decided I wasn't enough and paid someone to leave me. He swallowed. You taught me that I had to leave everything I knew just to prove my worth. And you did, he said softly. You proved it. You shouldn't have had to. The song ended. I stepped back. I need to go, I said. Daniel and I have an early flight. Will you come back? He asked. For holidays? For visits? For Michael? For Michael, I said. When he needs me, I'll be here. But you and I, we're not going back to Sunday dinners. We're not going to be the family we were. You broke that. And I'm not pretending it's fixed just because you're sorry. What about Mia? He asked. She's your cousin. You grew up together. She married the man you paid to leave me, I said. Whether she knew about the money or not, she made her choice. I made mine. I walked away, back to Daniel, back to the life I'd built without any of them. My mom caught me before we left and pulled me into a fierce hug. Come back soon, she whispered. Please. I've missed you so much. I will, Mom. I promise. Michael and Emma walked us out. Michael hugged me tight. I'm really glad you came, he said. And I'm really glad you're happy. Me too, big sister. Me too. On the flight back to Singapore, Daniel held my hand. How do you feel? He asked. Lighter, I said. I thought seeing them again would make me angry or sad. But mostly I just feel free. No regrets, he asked. Not about leaving. Not about building my life somewhere else. Not about saying no to forgiveness. He smiled. Good, because I should probably confess something. Oh no. I didn't just come to your brother's wedding to meet your family. I also wanted to see if there was anything here worth competing with. And I'm happy to report that Singapore has everything you need, he said, squeezing my hand. Including me. I really laughed. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard come out of me in years. You're absolutely ridiculous. You say that like it's a bad thing. It wasn't. 3 months later, Daniel proposed on a beach in Bali at sunset. He got down on one knee and told me I was his partner, his equal, the person who challenged him to be better every single day. And this time everything felt real. I didn't hesitate for even a second. I said yes. 6 months later, Daniel and I got married in Singapore. It was a small ceremony, maybe 20 people total, and every single one of them actually mattered. My mom was there. Michael and Emma flew in. A few close friends from work, my book club, and the life I'd built showed up too. That was it. No spectacle. No performance. Just people who loved us. My father sent a card with a check inside. I tore up the check without a second thought and dropped the card into the recycling bin. Mia sent me a message on Instagram. Congratulations, Sarah. You look so happy. I read it. I left it on read. And I never responded to another message from her again. James didn't reach out at all. The life I have now looks nothing like the one I once planned with him. I don't live in Portland. I don't have the house with the white picket fence. I don't do weekly Sunday dinners with extended family. Instead, I have a marriage built on mutual respect. I have a career that challenges me and pushes me to grow. I have a life that stretches across countries and cultures. I have the kind of success my father couldn't have bought for me, even if he'd wanted to. Most importantly, I have worth that no one gets to put a price on. People sometimes ask me if I ever forgave my father. The truth is, the answer isn't simple. I don't hate him. I don't wish him harm. But I also don't let him back into the most personal parts of my life. He gets birthday calls. He gets the occasional update. What he doesn't get is walking me down the aisle. He doesn't get to meet future grandchildren first. He doesn't get opinions about my marriage. He made his choice. I made mine. And my choice was to stop letting other people decide what I was worth. I chose to build a life so full, so meaningful, and so solid that betrayal eventually became irrelevant. I chose to learn that the best revenge isn't anger, confrontation, or making someone pay. The best revenge is building something so beautiful that one day you realize you don't even want revenge anymore. When I think back to that night, the moment I found the email, the moment everything fell apart, I finally see it clearly. My father didn't ruin my life. He showed me that the life I was living was far too small for who I was meant to become. And in the end, that $50,000 turned out to be the best investment he never intended to make, because it bought me something he never saw coming.